Hello friends, I'm paraphrasing here, but recently someone made a comment that it was morbid to look into the case of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon because it was a cold case that happened in 2014, and it's kind of unhealthy to still look into it, to still investigate it. I have a huge issue with that. I have an issue with people that are trying to push people away from pursuing truth. I have an issue with people that are trying to push people away from pursuing justice. 2 women were murdered. They were murdered. And yet the Panama government, they're covered it up, saying it's an accident theory, saying it was an accident. And when people say, oh, you're just being morbid, don't do that, just let it go. To me, when people say stuff like that, this is the mental image I get, is something big happened. But then you have people that are trying to usher people away, saying, oh, there's nothing to see here, just keep on walking. Friends, there is something to see with the Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers case. They were murdered. Yet the killers were never brought to justice. How can it be morbid for someone to go over the case of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon and want the truth? If you actually want, and this is what I don't get. If you're going to compare 2 cases, JFK assassination, was he killed by a lone gunman? To me, if you get into that case, you dive into a lot more gory stuff than you do with Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. I mean, for instance, with the JFK case, let's take the magic bullet. The magic bullet that supposedly went through Kennedy and Connally. And yet, it was near pristine. It wasn't quite pristine. It was damaged a little bit, but it was still in really good case. Why have they not been able to recreate a bullet like that? I mean, they take pigs. They say that pigs resemble the human flesh better than any other animal. And they've shot many bullets from that same rifle that they claim that Oswald used into pigs. And they have yet to have a bullet that looked as undamaged as the one that supposedly went through JFK and Connally. How can that be? Yeah, that's a little gory, I guess, if you get into it. Would you call it morbid? No, because it's part of finding the truth. It's part of saying that one bullet most likely did not go through both Kennedy and Connally. Another factor. There's another reason why JFK, you can say, it's a lot more gory. If you get into that case and try to learn the truth, you have to look at the autopsy photos. They're not pleasant to look at. I don't like looking at them. But if you want to know what happened to JFK, you got to look at those photos, and then you have to compare those photos of the autopsy that occurred in Washington with what the Parkland emergency doctors who worked on JFK said of his wounds, who, while he was still alive, they were working on him. Why is the Parkland doctors who saw JFK right after he was shot, why do they have a different account, an initial different account than the autopsy photos? Could it be that his dead body was manipulated in the plane ride from Dallas to Washington? Yes, that probably did happen. Is that morbid to think about that? No. It's gory, yes, it's a little gory, but you have to go through that gore. You have to go through that unpleasantness to get to the truth. There's nothing like that with Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. You don't go through gory autopsy photos. You don't have this Zapruder film when you see someone's back of their head get blown off. Yet, don't you see it's hypocrisy to say, oh, it's not morbid to look into JFK, but yeah, Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, just let it go. Do you see the irony in that? As far as gore is concerned, as far as if you're going to be morbid, if one is morbid, it would have to be JFK. But no, injustice happened with JFK. There were individuals who got away with shooting at the president. And Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. Someone, at least one person, got away with killing them. Pursuing justice is not morbid. If you're going to criticize someone, if you're going to criticize me for trying to right a wrong, for trying for trying to add to the discussion of why we should continue to look into this. Call me wrong. Fine. I'm okay with it because I know I am right. Friends, there needs to be a lot more investigation with Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. Pieces to the Kris Kremers and Lisanne case that were never pursued. And I think that's the issue. Those fingerprints that were on the belongings, on the bags and the belongings of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. Why were they never cross-checked? I have an issue with that. I have an issue with no interrogations of the suspects. No heavy interrogations of the suspects. Is that morbid to actually want that to occur? Do you see how crazy that sounds? I will say this, though. I will say this. It's not morbid to look into the case of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. However, I think there's different people out there that do it for different reasons. You have people like Scarlett. Do you think Scarlett's morbid? Scarlett knows more about Scarlett and the people behind the Imperfect Plan blog. They probably know more about this case than almost anyone who's, almost anyone. I mean, they know a lot about. They know so much about this case. Do you call that morbid? Do you think that? What I have found, though, and I think we need to come to the table and admit this. With the Kris Kremers and the Lisanne Froon case, I think there's interest in it, and I think there's 3 different reasons why. First of all, there's people like Scarlett. There's people that are behind the blog, The Imperfect Plan. There's people like Backpacker Coach. There's people like me that say an injustice happened, something wrong occurred, we need to investigate this further. We want justice to occur. There's a group like that, and I am part of that group. But then, if you search on YouTube, the much bigger group is people that use the case to try to add to the true crime story. And they don't really care that much about Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers. What they care about is getting people to watch the video for views so they can add money. They can make more money. They can make their channel bigger and better. If it's a business, that's okay. But I kind of rather listen to the people that really have a heart for seeing justice happen. So you have the people that want justice to occur, and then you have people that do it for entertainment value in order to make money, and then you have a third group of people. This third group, they're the people that I don't like. They're the people that are, in a way, I think they're interested in Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. And let's cut to the chase. Let's not pull punches here. Because they're attractive. And these people probably have no shot at finding a wife that they'd be happy with. So they kind of get infatuated with Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon because they are attractive women. When you go through my videos, there's a reason why I call them women. I don't call them girls. And I think you can kind of point out the people that kind of get infatuated with them and they're more into it because of the attractiveness and not because they want to pursue justice and truth and what really happened. When I make videos, I want to make sure that I don't dishonor Kris or Lisanne. I want to make sure that I don't dishonor their families. But you know what my biggest priority is? I want to make sure I don't dishonor my own wife. My wife is the queen of my world. My wife is the one person that I love more than anything, more than anybody. And my wife is my priority. And I hope I'm her priority. And that's what marriage is. The Bible says 2 become 1. The marriage relationship is the most important relationship that there is, human relationship. Now, one's relationship with God is more important, but outside of our relationship with God, our relationship with our spouse is the most important. And I make sure I mean, I really tried not to do anything that would even dishonor my wife at all. That's my priority. Yeah, I don't want to dishonor Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, but do you see, by not dishonoring my wife, I'm probably not going to dishonor them either. But I think that there's too many people. I think that there's some people, and I hate to say it, but they're kind of scummy a little bit. And if Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, if they weren't attractive, they wouldn't be interested. For instance, on my channel, I think one thing that you can use to point out whether people are kind of that, scummy type of, there are people that are doing it because they're infatuated with Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, and they're sexually attracted to them. I think you can kind of see that when, for instance, okay, with the photographic evidence, there's one picture where you can see Lisanne Froon, and one of her breasts looks a lot different than her other breast when she's on the summit, right? There's a picture, and her breasts look distorted. I've never referred to that in my videos. I don't want to talk about Lisanne Froon's breast. To me, that's I don't even want to go there. It makes me feel scummy to even think about that. Oh, and there's not even a need to go there. Instead of, if you want to focus on photo inaccuracies of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, go to the distortions of the striped shirt. Look at this red striped shirt, and you can see how that's distorted in the pictures if you want evidence of Photoshop. You don't even need to talk about the breasts. So when you see entire videos that are just focused on Lisanne's breast, to me, that person has an unhealthy infatuation of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, and they're really not that. Justice doesn't matter as much as they're kind of pulled because of their infatuation for those two. I have an issue with that. I think people like that need to be, they're like in the gutter, and we need to leave that conversation behind. We can talk about Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers in a respectful manner. In my videos, I think I brought ample evidence that a murder occurred. At least if you have a murder, foul play compared to accident, I think I have shown that it's highly probable that a murder, foul play occurred and that an accident is unlikely. I didn't have to go in the gutter. No, you had people like Juan out there who are actually reading from Lisanne Froon's diary. I have an issue with that. A diary is meant to be personal. Lisanne Froon did not write in that diary for it to be aired to the world. Now the pictures taken, yeah, those were probably going to go on a blog or Facebook. But a diary? I think that's infringing on, that shows an unhealthy infatuation to me. So anyway, where do we draw the line? Don't let people bully you into stop pursuing the truth. This video, I have two messages. First message is, don't be a scumbag. Don't be sexually perverted and just be interested in this case because you're attracted to them. There's videos that are like that. There's videos that just focus on the breast. That's a scumbag move. And even in comment sections you see that. And you can kind of see traces of that when people continue to refer to women as girls. I have an issue with that a little bit. On the other hand, friends, don't let people bully you from pursuing the truth. If you think an injustice occurred and you want to try to bring light to it, don't let someone point a finger at you and say, oh, you're being morbid, don't go there. Follow what you think is right. At the end of the day, if you can look in the mirror and you can say, you know what, I've done right by God, I've done right by my spouse, I've done right by myself, that's a pretty good day. And I believe that's the order things should go. God, spouse, yourself. Anyway, friends, and you're probably thinking, well, what about other people? Well, if you love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, then you're obviously going to keep his second commandment, which is love your neighbors yourself. Anyway, friends, don't let people stop you from pursuing the truth. Have a great day, and God bless you.